Hi, everybody. Today we're going to talk about journalistic story structure. We begin with each story with a lead in the inverted pyramid structure. The lead is the summary of everything that we deem important: who, what, when, where, why, and how. The rest of the story only amplifies, illustrates, and explains the lead. In the lead, you will know what to say and you will actually say it. There are several steps that we need to take to organize a story properly. First, look at your notes and find the focus of your story from your notes, from your interviews, and your research. Then briefly summarize the main idea of the story. Organize the rest of the material so that it flows according to importance. It goes down in the sequence of importance, from very important to less important to stuff that can be cut off if necessary. And link all the elements with transitions that are meaningful words that you will use to explain the connection between two chunks of a story. Then read the story, make sure that you have explained the lead, that you have kept your promise, check your writing, and rewrite. So there is a saying in this business, in this industry, that writing is rewriting. There is no such thing as writing perfectly from the very start. Even if you're working on an email, you will definitely correct it, change it, think about it. And so rewriting is a key function that we all exercise, and you should not be shy. You should not shy away from it. So there are different types of stories that are used in news writing, in journalistic writing. The most common one is one element story: lead, explanation, amplification, background information, and secondary material. So if the editor decides to cut the end of the story, the secondary information will go. If you want to take out the background as well, please, you have the lead and explanation. If you're running out of time entirely, if this is a broadcast story, say television or radio, you just say the lead and that's all the time you have. It still should make sense. In addition to one element stories, you can have two element stories or three element stories. But in all these cases, we always keep similar things together and not skip back and forth from topic to topic, from person to person. So like things go together in journalism so that the audience makes sense of it and stays focused on one aspect of the story at a time. Telling the story in different formats can be done, in several ways. First, we'll learn the inverted pyramid structure, beginning with a lead. That's the most important information. Then it just goes down, descends in the order of importance to explanation, amplification, etc. Then we have a storytelling, a narrative writing style. A storytelling format will be more appropriate for a personal essay, and by the way, that would be your human interest story. If you want to use a storytelling format, it does not have to be an inverted pyramid. So please pay attention that you can build your structure in a narrative writing style. Things that flow from one another, sometimes in a time sequence, chronological, sometimes by meaning, sometimes going backwards. So whatever you use, whatever strategy you use to tell a story effectively, without using the strict news, direct news structure of inverted pyramid, lead, explanation, etc. And the third format is the Wall Street Journal formula that starts with an anecdote, which is basically an example. It can be a dialogue, it can be a story about a person, usually it involves people, or it can describe objects. Then explicitly state the theme, state the significance of the theme, and finally answers the reader's questions. So in the basic structure, we go from general to specific. If we want to go from specific to general, that will be dialogue, action, description. So these are two other forms of organizing your story. You can go from a very general statement, general concept, and narrow it down to an example, or you can do the opposite. You can start with an example, as the Wall Street Journal formula suggests. Start with an anecdote, then go to the general. The DAD structure is dialogue, action, description. Breakfast at 6 a.m. Today it's grits and eggs, and clients are expected to clean up the cafeteria and sweep out the dorm room before they head out. Tom Jerome, a former ranch hand from Miles City, is sitting on the bench in the rescue mission, already drunk and waiting for coffee at 9 a.m. Considering the mission's rules, how did he spend the night here? I didn't, he says. I usually spend the night out. But the gray tile stateroom can be a dry place, so Jerome periodically slips out into the alley where he has a cache of beer waiting for him. So this is conversational storytelling. It's just descriptive, There is dialogue, but the story does not start with a dialogue, but it does start with a description. Action, dialogue. So in all these forms you can tell a story. It's very important to give physical description. Like in the previous example, we had the gray tiled room. It already creates this vision of something very concrete. It's gray and it's tiles. Differences in details. This place can be a dry place. It's not a place where you can drink. Details. So if you're covering an event like a strike, for example, what kind of questions do you need to ask? First of all, is the report about the strike even true? Then, how many people are there? What are the reasons for the strike? When will the outcome be known? What are the authorities saying? And what are the future plans, the outlook? So in this structure, you can actually give all the main information and then close with what's next. So good writing includes the following elements. The following guidelines will help you write well. First of all, you need to understand everything very well and need to say it in a way that will help people understand you. Say it in simple words. Let those words be correct and grammatically solid, but they don't need to be flowery or complex. Start writing when your focus is absolutely clear. And show things, don't tell. Only show us things that you can support. The room is gray, tiles, it's a strong fire, it is a lethal fire. Put quotes and human interest elements high up in the story, and many of you will notice that my feedback included a suggestion to put your quotes higher up because it's the best thing that you have created for the story. Put anecdotes high up in the story because it really opens the story to a very nice conversational tone if you begin with an anecdote. In terms of the body of your story, use very concrete, punchy, strong, powerful nouns and verbs that are action verbs. Again, strong and punchy, compact and not complex. Avoid adjective and avoid propping up your speech with verbs and adverbs. Avoid judgment and inference. Let the facts talk for themselves. Do not use questions. Do not use questions you cannot answer, and do not use questions at all, because your job is to answer questions, not to raise them. Your writing style needs to be simple, succinct, honest, and quick, so that people can read, can glimpse through the news quickly and move on to the next thing. Because as we know, in news audiences, the attention span is not very long. People do not lie down to read the newspaper for hours. They pick it up on the go and read while they're having their morning coffee. They can listen to the radio news while they're driving. So it needs to be very quick and effective. So the summary is that the essential elements of good writing include accuracy, brevity, good language, and strong, elegant structure. Every part moves in a logical sequence. Use bridges, quotes, connections that are meaningful, that add to the information value of your story, but not just fill space. Use those elements to bridge pieces together and move the story forward. Also use a lot of illustration in terms of description, depiction, clarification, examples. So that was the structure of a story. And next we're going to talk about leads.